Time for the top 100 team for anybody who's interested. The auto setup for top 5% is up already if you still need that. The team is Iseria, Ruiza, Aramintha, and Fenne. Iseria was found by Zonic. I had a different idea involving Haste, because Haste has HP percent imprints. Not that mine is actually imprinted, but Iseria works out way better for damage. Let's take a look at the team members. So, Ruiza, highest resident hero. She gives the most damage. You're going to want to use her. Fenne, because this is a pretty generic damage boost, it's not class specific. You can put anybody in the back row. It's just boosts damage of the hero in the back row. Fenne is amazing for this because her S3 is a giant nuke. Plus, you have the 30% extra HP, and Harsetti rotation lets you get a ton of turns in, so you can injure yourself all the way to max before you even hit her, which is really, really nice. Fenne, being a healer, also lets us go sustainless because, well, besides Fenne, so we can run no other sustain in the other slots. You need an AoE to break the ad out of stealth, which we have Aramintha for, and we also need a bunch of debuffs. A ranger hero in the front. We're not putting Ruiza in the front, we're using Iseria. You get a bleed every time you attack, so Iseria will give you some debuffs plus the unbuffable on her S3. Then Aramintha gives us burns from her S3, plus the unhealable from her S2, and that is our full team here. You can swap out Aramintha for Robin. It's about the same thing. Aramintha just has a better imprint. I think Robin is like effectiveness or something very, very bad. So let's take a look at everybody's stats. First up is Fenne. I just have her full damage. The way her scalings work, if you're looking at S3 damage, you want to just max out your HP. So I want max HP, a bunch of crit damage, 350. I have 0 speed on mine. You're probably going to need to adjust the tuning of this comp a little bit depending on your Fenne speed. But it's not very strict. Like, you have spare hits to work with in the phases. I think it's like 1 or 2. So you can just kind of eyeball it if you know what you're doing. For her artifact, we're going to be using Frantic Flight. The crit damage is more useful than the attack from whatever it's called, the Cruel Mischief. You also have 10% crit chance from this, which I'm not really using just because I don't have the gear to make use of that, unfortunately, but this is what I am working with. And then, of course, if you have her imprinted, it would be nice, but I don't have any imprints. So next up, let's take a look at Iseria. Iseria, I also have her really, really slow. So here's the thing. You need Iseria to be higher HP than Fenne, which is a little bit hard because your Iseria also needs to have a good amount of defense. This might come to a thing where you have to make your Fenne slightly lower HP, because the way Fenne injures herself is she injures based off of her current HP, not her max HP. So if you allow Harsetti to hit Fenne, then Fenne is not going to be injuring herself a lot. This is why she's holding Warhorn. It gives almost 1000 HP. You just max out her HP as best as you can, get it higher than whatever your Fenne is, but you also still need defense because those burns will hurt, and your only sustained is Fenne S1, so you don't have too much to work with there. There's a trick you can do to get like an extra 1000 HP that I'll mention during the run, but it's pretty much just max out her HP and defense, with her HP being higher than Fenne. The speed, whatever you have after being tanky enough to survive, you can tune around it. It's one of the less important things. And then if you have imprints, it would be nice, but there's 4 Iserias at this point, and she's the lowest prio of them, I think, unfortunately. And then let's take a look at Ruiza. So for Ruiza, her speed, you can use whatever works for you, honestly. I have her at 140, and then you're going to want 100% crit chance and 100 effectiveness. You don't need too much bulk on her, especially if you use S2 for the stealth. It helps keep you alive a lot. Just give her a little bit of bulk. You probably can get away with a bit less than this. And I have her on Renewed Will because she has no AoE, so you never have to worry about whether or not your Renewed Will is plus 30 or whatever. It'll always... it always won't activate, so it's completely fine. Just gives you the attack boost. And then lastly, Aramintha. Aramintha, I actually have her pretty fast because she is our sole AoE, and I do want her to cycle a lot to break the ad out of stealth. Pretty much same thing, 100% crit chance, 100 effectiveness, and then give her a bit of bulk. Her EE does not matter, except do not take detonate. You do not want to be detonating your burns. Very, very bad. And I gave her Cardismal Miracles as her artifact just for more attack boost, and the defense can be useful as well. And again, if you're using Robin, pretty much same stats, 100% crit chance, 100% effectiveness. It's just this imprint is better for Aramintha. That is it for the stats and everything, and now let's take a look at the run. For the starting speed RNG, it looks like Iseria went super far ahead, and then we have Aramintha and the other two. Here's the actual numbers. There's one point that might be speed RNG. We'll take a look at it later. At the very start, one trick you can use for manipulating CRs for Ruiza, her S1 gives speed buff. So you can use S3, which gives her 50% CR, instead of speed buff, or S2, which gives her nothing. I use S2 to slow her down here, and then we just turn on auto. One more trick you can do with, specifically Iseria, if you use her S2 here, you'll cycle off the Stigma debuff, so you'll get a little bit more healing from that S1 from Fenne. If you're just barely dying in the second phase, then using that S2 trick to get the little bit of extra healing can help you stay alive. That's especially going to be a thing if your defense is really low. So now we are in the mana phase. This is why I slowed down Ruiza with the S2 earlier, so that she wouldn't cut Harsetti here. We need 2 strips, and they can't beat on attack skills, so I have to use S3 here, can't use S2. And now we strip. A quick explanation for the break phase: if you hit this add, you will stack your target weakness up to 7 times. Also, critting the add will give you 30% CR push. And we have a secondary mechanic this time where you want to max out her debuff bar. Ruiza can spread debuffs with her S2, and we have the guaranteed bleed from the S1 Ranger trait thing. So we can just keep on hitting this thing. Pretty much you want to hit this thing to cycle your turns. Ruiza, her turns are useless besides the spread, because she applies no debuffs. So we're going to be hitting Harsetti with her instead, because we want the CR push on our more useful units. And for Fenne, this buff gets consumed on attack, and also increases the weakness gauge, so we can't hit Harsetti. You need to make sure this ad is not stealth. Every 3 hits it will go into stealth, and you can reveal it with an AoE. So one more bleed on it, and we're going to hit it again. And then we can reveal it again. So now we have enough debuffs on here to spread it. And we did get kind of lucky. Aramintha's S1 has an RNG chance to apply burns. So that's why we kind of already maxed out the debuffs here. But you don't necessarily need to rely on it. You'll see in a little bit. So now we're going to S3 the add, and we have Iseria specifically so that we can reset Fenne and get her S3 back up so that we get the 20% extra attack from Rage. But for Aramintha, we have her S3 back up so we can apply 2 more burns here, so even if both of her S1s miss the burn, you'd still be able to cap debuffs here. Now we're going to reset Fenne. And we're actually 1 debuff, we're 11 guaranteed debuffs here, because we still had this area hit left. Now we can S3. And then here we're just going to auto. Because all of our stuff is on cooldown, there's not too many tricks you can work with. You could use Aramintha's S2 though if you need to manipulate her CR a little bit. Iseria is also going to get pretty close to dying in this phase, and that is where the S2 trick from the first phase that I mentioned can help out a bit. You can see her HP here. She's got almost exactly 4.5 thousand HP.
애송이는 안 좋아해서.
S2 comes in, did about 2k, so she's got like a little bit over 2.5 thousand HP left.
실력 발휘 좀
Do our 2 strips again.
팬을 사랑해줘야 아플 거예요. 실력 좀 보지. 어쩔 수 없다. 직접 시범을 보여주지. 한바탕 날뛰어볼까?
One. Also, I forgot to mention, the ad does remember what hit count it is between phases, so if you didn't, like, zero it out in the end of the first break phase, you might want to do that during the main phase and the second phase. So here, I could hit the ad. This will depend on your Aramintha speed, I guess. If you're confident your Aramintha outspeeds, you can hit the ad and then just break it with the S3, or you can hit Harsetti directly instead. Because we have spare hits to work with anyways, so you can just hit Harsetti directly and then let Fenne stealth it. But if you know that your Aramintha would have cut after hitting the ad, you could have just, yeah.
안식을 드리죠. 만만치 않을 거다. 우리 가족이 궁금하신가요?
And then we are going to...
어서 주세요. 저리 할 정도의 사랑을 한바탕 날뛰어볼까? 곁에 있을게요. 검이요. 명을 따르겠습니다. 어디 덤벼봐. 이제
can reveal it again.
진정한 사랑을 보여줄게요.
And we are actually going to wait one more turn because we're not exactly ready to kill the boss or use our S3 just yet.
실력 좀 보지. 겨우
For the D-bus here.
시작해볼까? 한바탕 날뛰어볼까? 타올라라! 빨리 팬을 사랑해줘요. 느껴져요. 아파의 사랑이 쓸모를 다했으니 이제 잠들어도 좋다.